Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing okay out there and having yourselves a great start to your day. It's very active. Some wild weather ongoing this morning. You got thunder snow, thunder sleet in parts of the northern plains and central plains. You got severe weather ongoing from the same system. You've had some tornado warnings a little bit further north than I think a lot of us expected. I really can only speak for myself. I did not think we were going to have so many tornado warnings up into Kentucky. Over the last few hours. I woke up around 4:30 this morning, and I looked at the radar scope, and it was like, wow, there's that many tornado warnings. So hope you guys are staying safe up there. Hopefully there's been no real confirmed tornadoes, but I guess we will find out as the sun comes up on everybody. But hopefully you folks are staying safe. We're here to give you an update on what we can expect over the next 24 hours, as we always do in these morning videos, and try to keep you ahead of the storm. The south is going to be very active, and like I said, it's already really active right now. We kind of expected this. It wasn't going to be one of those days where it was going to be quiet in the morning and the things were going to pick up in the afternoon and evening hours. It's just a continuation of these storms that are moving through the south, and not just the south, but the mid-south and portions of the southern Ohio Valley. So we'll give you an update on everything, including the winter weather side. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. And as always, like the video if you do like it. And more importantly, if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Appreciate the ongoing support as we enter a new year. As of right now, I don't see a lot of big winter weather to talk on, which is really what drove this channel to really get big, or not big, but get out there, was last January, and how active the winter weather was. Unfortunately, I don't really see anything to really latch onto in the winter weather world. I see a couple things getting tossed around out there in some of these long range models, but nothing to really talk much on. There really isn't. You're going to have so many changes in the long range, but once we get past this system, we'll begin to really talk about the long range and what I'm seeing as far as winter weather, or just weather in general. But take a look at satellite here. You see this little spin in Nebraska. This is pumping up a lot of moisture into cold air and some ice, sleet, snow in portions of the plains. This will continue to spread into areas of the north central U.S. throughout the day. And with this, you have just a fire hose of convective activity that continues to get pulled, refired, redevelop, and what's already developed continues to push east into areas of the deep south. You got storms that are affecting areas of Memphis. You got flash flooding issues ongoing for several counties going all the way up into Kentucky, and I believe in portions of Indiana and Ohio. But very active weather this morning. We're kicking it off strong already on this Tuesday morning. And here it is. Flash flood warnings ongoing from areas of southeast Arkansas all the way up into areas of northern Kentucky. And then you got the flood watches, and then the tornado watches in the yellow. And then you got the flood watches down here. I really think areas in Alabama, especially southern Alabama, Montgomery being the epicenter potentially of the worst flooding potential, could see a lot of rain today, and it might not be talked about as much just due to the fact we have a big severe weather event that could potentially unfold today. But watch out for flooding. Watch out for flooding today for sure across areas of the deep south. Then you still got the ongoing winter storm warnings up for areas like, like Minneapolis, things like that. And just the ice storm warnings continue for areas of Iowa, Nebraska, and of several counties in Minnesota. But got a lot going on this morning. Very active weather across the middle of the country in the south. So you still got the enhanced risk today. Nothing has changed with this. There really hasn't been any movement. You got an enhanced risk that extends from southeast Louisiana all the way through almost to the Georgia-Alabama state line, almost to Columbus, but not quite. But you also have a slight risk. And guys, just basing off what we're seeing this morning, you can't totally throw out what we're seeing in the northern extent of the severe weather area right here, because this could affect downstream areas. The kinematics are really working in favor for a tornado threat, even areas as far north as Nashville, Tennessee, maybe all the way up to southern portions of Kentucky. So we need to watch out for a tornado threat. Areas as far north as Nashville today. We do even Atlanta, and then down, especially down to Birmingham. Basically, the further south you work, the bigger the tornado threat. You got this enhanced this enhanced area for a reason. I guess I can't talk right this morning either, but as you can tell, you got this 10% risk area, and then you got a hatch risk also, which is a 10% risk of a significant tornado to happen within 25 miles of any given location here that is an EF2 or higher. So not only do you have a 10% risk to see a tornado, you also have a 10% risk to see a significant tornado. Then you got the 5% risk that extends in the slight region, goes all the way up to Nashville, big city of Nashville. So please be weather aware today, guys. It's a big deal. This is going to be a big weather day today. But, you know, the severe weather event yesterday, it could have been worse. Obviously, it could have worked out better when we didn't have any tornadoes. But I can tell you, it really did not end up unfolding as bad as it could have. So we're definitely grateful for that news, that's for sure. The excessive rainfall outlook. Listen, this is going to be a story today that isn't talked about much, but we need to watch out for this. Hopefully it doesn't materialize. But you see this red area that's centered right over Montgomery, extends all the way into Columbus, Georgia. That is at least a 40% risk to see flash flood guidance being met in this area within 25 miles in any given location. That's pretty high. So you're going to have some flooding issues into the deep south, the Gulf states. Birmingham, watch out. Atlanta also. You're going to have flooding even in this just isolated areas of flooding. I'm not saying the whole entire state of Alabama is going to experience flooding, but with just the re-energizing or reinitiation of some of these storms that continue to fire up over the same areas. Of course, you're going to have training of storms that are going to move over the same areas that just experience storms. Some areas could see as much as 3 rounds of storms over the next 24 hours. The same thing that Arkansas and areas of western Tennessee are experiencing right now. This is their second or third round of storms. So a lot of rain can fall. Maybe up to 3 to 4 inches of rain can fall in Montgomery today. But we'll watch to see how that unfolds. A more broader look at how the southeast storm threat can unfold. And then we'll zone in on the deep south and areas of Alabama, Mississippi, etc. This is verifying pretty well. This is the beginning of the HRRR model. If we actually look at radar scope right now, you see all these flash flood warnings in these counties that are kind of outlined into red. They just kind of overspread multiple counties. They don't go like individual counties really anymore. But, I mean, you got reports of streets flooding right here, river creek overflowing. So there's a big issue. There's a tornado warning just north of Bowling Green. That's what I'm talking about, guys. You know, tornado warnings have been a little bit further north than maybe we thought they were going to be. There was always a risk of that. But it's definitely verifying on the northern end, which kind of offsets what I said last night about me always thinking the southern end is the area you got to watch out for. But sometimes kinematics win out over thermodynamics. Kinematics normally favor the northern areas of the severe weather threat. Not always, but in general. But, you know, you got a line of storms. Certain areas of this little area of storms right here, especially just south of Memphis, favor severe weather and warrant a severe storm warning. But in general, this is still below severe limits. But you just had a severe thunderstorm warning issued just south of Memphis. So you got to watch out whoever's ahead of this area right here. Holly Springs, Mississippi, places like that. So just definitely have a way to get alerts, but this will continue to march east, in general, northeast, and that's why it's causing flooding issues, because it's going over the same areas. But this is the initial first portion of energy, but we expect more energy to fire up right into here today, and this is where our tornado risk will be as supercells try to get going in the moist sector. That's going to be rich with plenty of moisture down here, which Cape levels are going to spike to at least 1,500 joules per kilogram in any given location down here. So we got to watch out. So a broader look and evolution of how the storms can go today. Moving through here in time, this line of storms will continue. This isn't going to go anywhere. This will march through in the morning hours, move through central and northern Mississippi, all of Tennessee, pretty much all of Kentucky. There could be a tornado threat with this. But what you're noticing is you got the initiation of storms as far south as southern Louisiana. These are the storms. Even into watch out New Orleans around lunchtime or just before lunchtime, these could produce some rotating thunderstorms. Same thing with this. And we'll move through this very fast, but you know, you see the kind of how this is kind of evolving right here. You know, this line of storms up here weakens kind of on the southern end, but it's continuing to go. Like if you're in West Virginia, these storms, you could have a line of maybe just a line of storms. It might not be severe, but they could be strong that work their way into West Virginia, areas of Western Virginia, Northeast Tennessee. And then you already got showers and storms moving into Atlanta, moving into upstate South Carolina. But it's the ones behind this that kind of get going that you got to watch out for. They can be dangerous. Watch out even up here in northern Alabama. We're getting into the 4 or 5 p.m. time frame. And then we keep this going. And then another round of storms develop into the middle of the night, and it's just because the placement of this low pressure is moving so slow. But this moves through very quickly, and then we get into around this time tomorrow. But let's zone into this area right here for the enhanced risk and slight risk today. Like I said, you watch this initial line of storms, it'll kind of begin to weaken or kind of diminish on the southern area of this line, but then you get the initiation of more cells. And some of these can be rotating, some of these can be producing damaging winds. When what we really watch out for in this area, and this is as of, back this up 1 hour. Remember, this is Eastern time. So if you're in Central time, which is basically this entire area, back this up 1 hour. So you're at 10 a.m. at this point. Even these storms in near Baton Rouge, New Orleans could be rotating. Just because they're rotating, that don't mean they're going to produce a tornado, but they could produce a funnel and just basically have rotating tendencies in some of these storms. But you continue to keep this going, and one thing that we hope continues to really look to happen, and that's why they haven't dropped a moderate risk or anything like that, is some of these storms really just kind of mess with each other too much, meaning they try to attach themselves to one another and kind of choke themselves out. So when that happens, these individual supercells can't really get going. Now, you can have embedded spin-ups like you're seeing this morning and like you have seen over the last few hours up into Kentucky and Tennessee. Now, and those are arguably the most dangerous ones because you normally can't see them coming. These supercells, you normally can visibly see them coming because normally supercells are kind of alone on their own and kind of doing their own thing, and you can see them from the southern or maybe the southeast portion of the storm. But in general, we got to watch these storms down here in the moist sector where temperatures will rise into the 70s, dew points will be closing in on the low 70s, and CAPE levels will rise well above 1,000 joules per kilogram, and then you'll have enough kinematics, that 30 to 40 knot low-level jet, to put that spin in the atmosphere. Low-level jet meaning winds about a mile or so above our heads. So it's spinning, they're veering with height, meaning changing direction with height. They're speeding up with height, meaning it's going faster the higher up you go. This causes a bunch of turbulence in the upper levels of the atmosphere and causes these updrafts of these storms to really spin and potentially produce a tornado at the surface. So we continue to roll on through. South of Birmingham, look at these storms really close to areas like Montgomery. But you continue to pay attention to these storms down here near New Orleans, Baton Rouge, the Bayou. These could produce a tornado. We don't need no more tornadoes down here. We don't need tornadoes anywhere, but man, it seems like New Orleans and the suburbs of New Orleans have been hit twice now last year with a tornado. So once kind of towards the beginning of the year, and then another happened last month. So watch out today. Around late morning, early afternoon, somewhere in that time frame, you're going to have an area of storms that develops down here in New Orleans and surrounding towns and cities and communities. So please watch out down there. And then you have an area of storms here, what's left over of the line from this morning up here. And then you have another line forming back here. So this line right here will continue to move through Atlanta, deliver some heavy rain later this afternoon and this evening. And then you watch these storms. And look, New Orleans is still getting storms later this afternoon and this evening. You got storms moving through Birmingham, areas of central and southern Mississippi. And, we don't know exactly where this is going to be. Just have a way to get alerts throughout the morning, the afternoon, evening hours, because unfortunately, this isn't just like one wave of storms. This is multiple rounds of storms that can move through, and all of these storms could have a chance. I see this question a lot on Twitter, and especially on YouTube. Will Billy Bob Town, Mississippi see a tornado? Obviously there's probably not a town called Billy Bob in Mississippi. If I could tell you exactly where a tornado would be, we'd be saving lives. Nobody would die from tornadoes, right? I'm not going to know where a tornado is going to hit your house or not. Just like I'm never going to know exactly how many inches of snow is going to fall at your house. But we can try to get a good idea of what's the worst area that could be impacted by the chance for a tornado. And right now that is in this area right into here. Guys, I'm going to work on getting a cursor so I can circle areas on this map. That'll be the next, upgrade that I'll try to do for you folks. But these storms continue to move through, and listen, they keep firing up. And another area of storms fire up in the wee hours of the morning tonight, later this evening into the wee hours of the morning. And then this moves back from Nashville to Birmingham to Montgomery. These move through, and then they hit Atlanta probably as you're waking up tomorrow. And then this will be the line of storms we watch out for tomorrow. There'll be a slight risk down here in southern areas and southwest areas of Georgia and the panhandle of Florida. And there will be a chance for tornadoes tomorrow morning for these areas into tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk about that tonight a little bit. But the significant tornado parameter for this area, I know a lot of people look at this and their eyes immediately go to the most vibrant colors, the darkest colors, which vibrant and dark really don't, they contradict each other. But anyways, but basically the more eye-popping colors, which would be like right here and right here. Just in general, this tries to focus in on where supercell development could form. Don't look at this as where, okay, you're definitely going to have a tornado right here in northern Mississippi. Just in general, this could be where tornadoes are favored more, you can say. Significant tornado parameter around 4. A little bit later this morning into early this afternoon for around the New Orleans area, Baton Rouge area. And then we continue to move through. And then look, another area of concern develops overnight, potentially for Alabama, which is no good considering the fact that, we're obviously going to be overnight. A lot of people will be sleeping and the sun will be down. So we need to watch throughout the next 24 hours, really the next 36 to 48 hours, because we're going to have a threat tomorrow for the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida. But rainfall is going to be a story you don't hear much about, but that's going to be a concern. It's a concern right now. Memphis could see additional inch or so of rain. Nashville, maybe an inch. Huntsville, Alabama, an inch or so. Jackson, maybe a couple inches of rain. But Montgomery, Alabama, the epicenter right here, maybe a few to maybe several inches of rain as possible. So we need to see, man. We are getting flooded out already to start January. But please watch out, especially if you're in central and southern Alabama. Some of these, just don't drive on flooded roadways, guys. I know a lot of people think they can drive through, but you just never know how deep the water is. I've seen it out there, storm chasing, people getting trapped in water. So the old saying, turn around, don't drown, it's legit. It might sound corny to some folks, but it's legit. Definitely heed the warning there. But a lot of rain. This is just over the next 24 hours, too. It's still raining probably in some of these areas. So please be careful with the flooding rest of the day. So I know we spent a lot of time on that, but let's go up to the Northeast finally. But Northeast, a lot of rain can fall today. We're getting into the morning hours. Rain overspreading through Pennsylvania, almost the entire state of Pennsylvania seeing rain, all of Ohio seeing rain, West Virginia. And then it spreads into southern New England, interior Northeast, a lot of rain falling. And unless you're about 6,000 feet up in the air, this will be mostly rain for everybody, which I'm sure for winter weather fans up here, this really irritates you guys, considering the fact that we're in January and seeing an all-rain event, even for the higher elevations in the hills. But we get into this afternoon, just a soggy day. And this continues. Low pressure heads on over, and then it'll clear out maybe by the time you're waking up tomorrow. But a soggy day across the Northeast. But this is just going to be a lot of rain between now and tomorrow morning. Maybe an inch or two of rain falls in just north of Pittsburgh. State College could see a couple inches of rain. And this is all rain. Southern New York State, anywhere from a quarter inch to an inch of rain is possible. And just a soaker today. This will definitely be a soaker. Washington, D.C. might avoid the most rain over the next 24 hours. But the further north you work, the further west you work, the more you get into some rainfall in this area. South Central U.S., again, not a whole lot to talk on. There really is. That you could have some isolated storms that might get going here in western Louisiana. But other than that, guys, pretty quiet in the South Central U.S. Maybe enough cold air where some flurries work their way into southwest Kansas, maybe the panhandle of Oklahoma a little bit later tonight into tomorrow morning. But outside of that, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot to speak on. It's pretty active out here this morning in areas of the north central U.S. In fact, let's switch the radar. Let's get off that. And let's look at the radar in, let's check out Omaha. No, let's see. Not Omaha. Okay, let's look right here. And let's see if, okay, yep, the lightning is up. Now, you're looking at this at first, right? Look at this little spin. This is where the low pressure is. Omaha right here. You see all these lightning bolts coming up on your screen? You're thinking, man, there's some thunderstorms up here. Sure, yeah, there's thunderstorms, but look at this. I switched it from precipitous to just the radar to precipitation type. Guys, it is thunder snowing back here in Wayne, Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska. It is thunder snowing. If it's not thunder snowing, it's thunder sleeting. And you look up here in areas of Northwest Iowa, you got thunder ice is what you want to call it, where basically it's thundering, maybe even lightning. Visibly, you can even see the lightning, and it's freezing raining. So, it's pretty wild to see. Up here, you got mixed freezing rain and ice. This is where the ice storm is going to crank up today, guys. It really is. But you got not widespread precipitation right here necessarily, but heavy. And that's because this is a pretty strong surface low moving through this area. Mainly rain in Omaha, but you don't have to go far enough north. And you're definitely seeing some winter weather. And it is dynamic, meaning you're getting thunder snow, thunder sleet, thunder ice. Pretty wild. That means that it's literally thunder and lightning with winter weather falling. And it's definitely more common out here in the plains than it is in other portions of the state. But always impressive, and always geek out when I see it. One of these days, I've experienced thunder snow twice here in South Carolina, believe it or not, and it was unbelievable. It's a rush, especially when you're into the weather, obviously. But moving through the morning hours, getting into 8 and 9 a.m., the snow starts to move into Minneapolis. It'll be heavy snow for a while. It might mix with some sleet or freezing rain at times. It's still snowing, and then eventually enough cold air wraps in behind this low pressure for areas like Omaha that might switch, where you've been rain for most of the system, might switch to some sleet and some snow this afternoon. And this is very heavy snow, guys. It's not a massive, broad area of precipitation. I mean, it's pretty big, but we've seen bigger, right? But it's snowing very heavily. It's heavy, wet snow up here in northern Wisconsin and central areas and south central areas of Minnesota. And this continues just to spin around and delivers more snow into the overnight hours. It's snowing in western Wisconsin, still snowing in Minneapolis, and the low pressure just continues to spin around, and then it develops more precipitation as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, which we're getting ahead of ourselves right here. But it's still snowing in these areas. It's even bringing backside snow into northern Illinois. We'll talk about this a little bit tonight, but this is just a wonky system, very dynamic system, and very similar to what we saw a couple weeks ago that also brought severe weather to the south. Snow between now and the next 24 hours. We could see several inches in Minneapolis, more snow in southeast areas of South Dakota, and then more snow will continue to fall very heavily in areas of northern Nebraska. But a lot of freezing rain could fall over the next 24 hours. North of Omaha, definitely another 10th to a 20th of an inch of ice, and then it's already icing up right here in northern Iowa. Let me know if you're watching from this area. I would love to know how much ice you're seeing. Southern Minnesota, ice storm criteria ice, which to me is a 1/4 inch or more in this area, will continue to fall. So what's already fell, more will add up in this region. And we go on and switch it and look to the upper Midwest right here. This is ice for you folks over the next 24 hours. I mean, a glaze for the entire UP of Michigan. Just a light glaze, not a whole lot. But if you start to get into the western sections of the UP of Michigan and to northern areas of Wisconsin, especially this section right here, you could get somewhere around maybe a 15th to a 1/4 inch of ice, which starts to, and once you start to get to about a 15th to a 20th of an inch of ice, you really start to see some of them limbs start to get weighed down and power outages start to creep upwards. So definitely be careful snowfall for this region. And then we'll wrap this video up. Some areas will get, ice and then snow, or snow and then ice. It just depends. But, a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow for you folks. So not just pure snow for you folks up here like you're used to this time of the year, but some ice and snow is certainly likely over the next 24 hours in these regions in northern Wisconsin and then areas of Minnesota. So temperatures today, very warm in the south. I mean, it continues to feel like April, early April in these areas, even the Ohio Valley, way up into the 60s. I saw a picture for some areas in Buffalo. It looks like almost all of your snow has melted from the blizzard that happened, how long has it been? About 9 or 10 days ago? I mean, it ended probably about a week ago. So, I mean, even areas in the Northeast, guys, I mean, it's in the 30s. So pretty wild to see. It's cold into the northern and central plains, but I mean, nothing that you're not used to for this time of the year. So in general, almost everybody is either around average to definitely well above average. The entire state of Florida is very warm. It just feels like a late spring day, maybe early summer day. Southern areas of Texas, well into the 80s, and then just not only warm in the deep south, but humid also with these storms that are going to continue to fire up. It's going to be damp and warm. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you this evening.